Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Call of Duty 4 Remastered Veteran Walkthrough. This is shock and awe, and it's a little bit random, guys. So I've heard reports of people getting instantly killed here before you can even shoot back, and various horror stories such as that, but I never had any real troubles here. There's a checkpoint we just got to just then, and I died and got reset to that, but aside from that moment, I didn't really have too much trouble with this. Once again, it's that on-rails curse of Call of Duty where there are times where the game just kills you, and there's nothing you can do, and I would love to tell you that, you know, you hold both the bumpers and you magically revive, or, you know, if you look down and to the left nobody shoots you, or anything like that, but it's just simply not true. On-rails is a moment where you can't take cover, even though at the end of this game they created a section of on-rails where you can take cover, and never implemented it here. You know, we always use these turrets on these helicopters. Why isn't there an option to shut the door? Or why isn't there an option to like back up and have the plates on the front of a lot of these guns that usually are there to protect the gunner, to alleviate the stress on the player? You know, there's a few games that have done it that way. Just the idea of allowing the player to get away from damage and save himself by crouching or something. It doesn't have to be anything grand or too ridiculous. Just give us a chance. You know, there's only so much a player can do, and when you can't dodge damage, it's a bit of a big call, I think. It's not a fair thing in games. It never has been. There was a wonderful one in Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter where on the hardest difficulty on Elite, you just die, man. It's you might as well just sit the controller down and let the level play itself, because it's nothing to do with you when you're in that chopper. And there's people that play it and have no problems. There's people that play it and have a nightmare. I happen to have a nightmare there. You know, there's been some people asking me about Heat on this level, on this game, sorry, because they have horror stories of Heat. And I remember Heat very fondly because it is a crazy mission, but it's a crazy mission that you can kind of just run forward like an idiot and just checkpoint, 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 and hit those checkpoints, and you can get to the end of it. And thanks to smoke grenades, it can make certain sections that would be impossible feel very doable. And they're curious to see what it's like on this, and at the end of Heat, definitely felt like COD 4, because there were a moment where I got to a shed, and as I was trying to get out of the shed, I was getting instantly killed, and that's definitely what COD 4 was like. But aside from that moment, Heat wasn't so bad at all. I had a lot of fun on it. Like, just then, that was a bit closer to what COD 4 would be like, but I would have died then, because I moved out of cover, and that's not something that you do lightly in these games when enemies are looking at you, because they just killed you. That's what they did. That's all they did. And they will not stop until you are dead, you know, Kyle Reese. But in this level, I'm going to push forward with this ugly-ass holographic sight, which completely kills me to use because I hate it, but I couldn't find any. There's me trying to throw a grenade back and just throwing a grenade. Not a fan of that mechanic at all. And we're just going to try and push up this side and get into the building side, because this is, of course, backlogged. So if you've played a lot of the multiplayer, you know everything about this level. Well, within reason. There are some cosmetic changes, there are some doors that aren't the same, but for the most, you have the advantage here because you know this place. You've spent a lot of time here, and all we're going to be doing is, that's actually the friendlies that I'm shooting at there. I don't know why I'm doing this, but you know, there's a bad grenade throw. I'm full of bad grenade throws. If you came for those, you're going to get plenty by the end of the guide. But just be careful pushing forward, because in here, a lot of people in those prefabricated walls, and they push in interesting ways. They put pressure on you. There is a G3 though, and in the campaign, it is automatic. The G3 is incredibly powerful, so an automatic variant is kind of overkill. Feel free to wallbang if you want to. Somebody mentioned on the comments on one of the older videos that this game kind of standardized the wallbanging, but other games had done it before. And I'm not too sure about which ones he particularly meant, because when I think of shooting through walls in games, I think of the same kind of games, which are gimmick weapons. I don't really remember many games that had it as a mechanic. I think Soldier of Fortune 2 might have had something similar, because I can remember shooting through doors. But actually using the fact you could shoot through almost every surface as a gameplay hook is not something I remember doing. And I mentioned to that guy that, you know, my memories of shooting through walls involve things like railguns, they involve the Farsight, they involve the Auger from Resistance, stuff like that. Specific weapons that were set up to intentionally go through walls. Like, I think I've mentioned this recently, but I speak on a lot of videos, guys, and it can be difficult to remember which one I said it on, but does anybody remember the Cerebral Bore Now that was a gun. And once again, I apologise if I've just told you this, if you've literally watched the video where I mentioned it previously, but this was a gun that locked onto the brainwaves of enemies. And there was a hook to this weapon where if the enemy was stupid, it wouldn't work on them, which I thought was magnificent. It was this idea that anything that was sentient and intelligent could get fucked, but anything that was feral and just stupid didn't work. And once it got a lock, if you fired it, it fired this shrill-sounding, buzzing, slow-moving homing projectile. And there was absolutely nothing you could do to get away from it. And I tried. You know, split screen was rife those days, and I had a lot of friends that came over, and we played a lot of Turok. The only way to get away from the cerebral bore was to run into water, because the game had water walls, which led into water areas where you swam. That was the only way to avoid it. You could not get away from it, because it was perfect. And it was an instant kill. It drained the fluid out of your brain. It like ventilated your skull, and then it exploded. So all your brain fluid spraying everywhere, and then your head just popped. And it looked pretty amazing considering it was like, what, 99, 2000 or something? Oh, another thing as well here, guys. I've trimmed out moving towards the chopper to get the pilot, because I didn't get shot once. And I know for a fact that you're meant to get shot. So watch me now, I'm getting hit. And the game is giving me the juggernaut that it gives you on the Macmillan section, which is a kindness, but it's kind of strange. And it leads me to one of the things I always hated about COD 4. When you get to the chopper, or you pick somebody up, you should not be killable. You should be invincible. It's just how it should work. And a lot of people have been saying, you know, the Macmillan section coming up, how bad is it on this version, seeing as how they've toned it down, sorry. It's just as bad, guys, because there is a part of that section where you have to move out of wherever it is that you're using for cover to go and pick up his crippled ass and drag him to that chopper. And there will be enemies there, and if they see you doing that, you go back to 5,000 meters out, which is at least a minute or two before the chopper even comes. So not only is the checkpoint just as shit as it always was, but it's a bloody dice roll whether or not you can get him in the chopper. And I hate that. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. And that is unchanged, so I can't, you know, condemn this game for it. That's a COD 4 failing right there. But it's hard, and it's hard because of that poor design. Anyway, thank you for watching. You take care now.